Hey everyone, I'm Joe Ferzoco.
That makes me Chris Ferzoco, and today we are going to be discussing market statistics. Joe, we're going to look at August versus July here of 2025, and as we're starting to wrap up the summer months here.
And I think, so August versus July, and you want to talk about the usual stuff, right? Sale prices, properties listed, number sold, list prices, sale price. And didn't we do days on market last month?
Yes, we did.
We'll touch on that again.
Did some days on market.
All right, very good. Well, and of course, folks, if you like what you hear, like what you see here, please make sure you subscribe below, tap that bell for instant notification, and of course hit that like button, and you'll be the first to get the most up-to-date market information. Of course, happenings down here at the Jersey Shore. We're doing July versus August, Chris, so like this is the month of September. We've got a lot of festivities, festivals going on down here at the shore. I mean, this weekend's Fireman's Weekend. They'll have the big parade on Saturday. Next weekend's Irish Weekend down in Wildwood, so a lot of stuff happening. We had the air show last week, so a lot of good stuff happening down here at the Jersey Shore, not that Jersey Shore, our Jersey Shore, Ventnor, Margate, Longport, Ocean City, Somers Point, Strathmere, Sea Isle City, Avalon, Stone Harbor, North Wildwood, Wildwood Crest, West Wildwood, Diamond Beach, Cape May, North Cape May Courthouse, and Upper Township is our Jersey Shore. So why don't you get us going, Chris, on market stats?
Absolutely. So we're going to start, as I always like to, in Ocean City. We're going to look at the overall value, Joe, and actually the overall values only went up real slightly. It actually went from 1.32 up to 1.375. So pretty much staying the exact same. Not much of a change there. In the overall value. As for the number of properties that actually had sold, we actually had 53 properties sell this that month, which means they closed. So they were already under contract, probably from May or June in that timeline there in July. So they actually closed in August. We had 53 versus 35 in the month of July. So a nice increase there in seeing properties actually start to turn over. As for the number of properties that came on the market, we actually had 117, which is up from 107 the month before. Now, if we go back to what I just said, though, Joe, that's, really when you're looking at that, was that 224 properties in 2 months came on the market. We actually only had 88 sell. So you actually start to think, man, okay, that's a nice roll. We're starting to see some inventory increase here in Ocean City. It is ever so slightly. There's 282 properties as of this video currently for sale. And as we always like to clarify in our videos, when we say 282 properties, that's all properties. So it's oceanfront, it's bayfronts, it's efficiencies, it's commercial property, vacant lots, multifamilies, condos, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all property here is only 282. So it's still low in comparison to years past, which has been in the several hundreds. So very consistent in that 280 mark. So although we had 224 come on in 2 months, 88 sold, we're still not seeing that increase that we'd like to see in the overall number of properties that are currently available.
Absolutely.
As for list price, the sale price actually jumped up. So even though the number stayed the same, you always like to point this out, even though the value stayed at 1.375, roughly the same as the month before, the sellers were getting 98% of the list price this month versus only 95% the month before.
So making more money.
Yeah, making a little bit more money. So that's a nice positive there for the sellers. And obviously we want to keep that going for you guys. Now, when we move on down the coast into Sea Isle, what does that look like? Sea Isle actually had a slight drop. It went from 1.94 down to 1.85. So a pretty nominal difference there. Nothing real significant there. So a slight drop in the overall value. As for the number of properties that sold and closed, we actually had 10 properties actually closed last month versus 6 in July. And we actually had 12 properties come on the market versus 18. Okay, so Sea Isle is still kind of in that almost 1 for 1. That's 22 coming on and 24 actually sold. So you're kind of seeing that. Oh, I'm sorry, 16 sold versus 30. So it's almost a 2 to 1 right now at Sea Isle. But again, not seeing that big change in overall inventory. Only 35 properties available still in Sea Isle. As for the list price to sale price, virtually the exact same, 95 in July, 96 here in the month of August.
Okay, fantastic. So as we move a little bit further down the parkway, Chris, we go into the Wildwoods. And as I talked about, like with days on market and things like that too. So the one thing that I did notice when we did the days on market for the southern half of the county, so all the Wildwoods, Cape May Courthouse, Diamond Beach, Cape May, North Cape May, etc. Between July and August, your average days on market, so I'm not going to do every single town, your average days on market was really roughly around 95, 98 days. So our average days on market, absorption rate, whatever you want to call that. So right now we're sitting right around 3 months. That's the highest it's been in a good 2 years. Now all of a sudden, boom, you list a property in September, October, November, you're closing in December. Like really, that's your span right now. So something to kind of keep an eye on there with your average days on market. Right around 95, almost into 100 days right now for days on market. So North Wildwood, your average sale price for the month of August compared to July was actually up 7%. 634,000 was your average sale price in North Wildwood. Number of properties that hit the market, that jumped up about 25%. We had 24 properties coming onto the market in North Wildwood. And as Chris said, this is the MLS. So your next door neighbor listed for sale by owner, and it's not on the MLS. We don't necessarily have that stat. So it's 24 properties came on the market. Number of properties that actually sold, that was also the same. That was 24. So 24 properties selling in the month of August compared to 18 the month before in July. So, kind of like with Ocean City, like we had some, July was busy. The end of July, June, like you had some stuff happening, which is why, of course, we had these closings in the month of August. List price to sale price was sitting right around 96%. Dropping down into Wildwood, again, your average sale price was up 16%. 586,000 was your average sale price for Wildwood in August. Number of properties that sold was the same as the month before. We're sitting at 17. The number of properties that came on the market was 33, which is about a 33% increase actually from 22 to 33. So again, that situation where it's almost like a 2-for-1. You had 17 sell, 33 come on the market. So for every 2 coming on, 1 selling. We'll see what it looks like in September when those properties that were listed, actually sell. 97% list price to sale price for Wildwood. Moving into the Crest, a little bit of a jump here, 24% increase in your average sale price. 878,000 was your average sale price for the month of August. As far as the number of properties that closed, we only had 7 transactions, which was almost a 48% decrease. So half as many properties closed in August as they did in July. As far as the number of properties that came on the market, we had 24 actually come on the market, which is about a 37% jump. So that's it's a good increase as far as numbers of property coming on. But again, to your point, when you sit there and you look at all 3 boroughs, Wildwood, Wildwood Crest, and North Wildwood, I mean, you're sitting at about 85 total properties that came onto the market, and 48 sold. So, that's a 2-for-1. That's not 3-to-1, or, so you're sitting really for every 2 that come on, 1 selling. So hopefully, again, you still start to stack some months where you're getting some better, inventory. We'll see what happens. Sea Point Village, your average sale price in the month of August was up 33%, a little over $1 million for the month of August. We had, and this is where it gets Diamond Beach, Sea Point Village, because we don't have so many listings and whatnot. You had an 80% increase in the amount of properties that sold in the month of August. We had 5 as opposed to 1 in July, and we had 7 properties come on the market. So we'll kind of see how that starts to change a little bit there, because that's the same amount that came on the month before. At least it wasn't 0 or 1. List price to sale price was right around 94%. And of course, in Cape May, it was the first time, actually in a little while, we've actually seen a decrease in sale price, a big decrease in sale price. Cape May as a whole has been pretty consistent with regards to maybe up 4 or 5%, down 4 or 5%, up 4 or 5%. This month here we had a 30% decrease in your average sale price in Cape May. It was a little over $1 million for your average sale price. Number of properties that sold, there was 7, pretty much the same as the month of July. Number of properties that came on the market was the same as July. It was 11. So pretty flat there, 7 and 11 for properties selling and closing in the month of July and August. And your list price to sale price was about the same, sitting right around 97% there. So you're going to take us offshore, I think, right now?
Yeah, I'm going to take you offshore, Joe. And I think one thing to just point out, too, is when we start talking about like this 2-to-1 ratio, it's just for people to understand, too, it's not an exact number.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by that is that there's always a small percentage that change their mind, right? They pull their home off the market. There's a small percentage that it's gone within a day because an agent had a buyer for it immediately. So it's not like the inventory is building. That's why you'll see like, well, wait a minute, if you're 2-to-1, why hasn't the inventory moved up? There's other factors. If it's 2-to-1, all of a sudden you have a handful that changed their mind. They took it off the market within 3 or 4 days. All of a sudden it's like, okay, now all of a sudden, if it's 10-to-1, it's only 7-to-1 or 6-to-1. And then all of a sudden it's like two of them sold immediately. Now you're down to 4 that are available out of the original 10. For the buyers out there to look at.
Sure.
So that's what we're not seeing. So just understand what we're meaning by this 2-to-1 just means we're seeing more property come on the market. but you still have to be paying attention to what's going on with the number-wise because that inventory level still isn't necessarily growing at that significant rate that we'd like to see to offer a wide variety. There's a variety, but it's that wide variety where you can just continue to pick and choose and shop around for 3 or 4 different weekends.
Right.
Moving offshore, a little bit of an uptick, Joe, in actually both primary areas there that I'm going to cover in Upper Township. We actually went from 452,000 to 639,000. Very much the trend here in Upper Township. It was down the month before, up the month, down, up. So it seems like it's back and forth almost every month. For the number of properties that actually had sold, we went actually almost the exact same. We had 9 in August versus 8 in July. And the amount that came on the market, actually the exact same. We had 21 in July, 20 in August. So the numbers are pretty much very consistent in Upper Township when you look at what's selling, what's coming on the market.
Yeah.
Actually, even when you take a look at the overall sale price versus list price, both months were at 97%. So that goes back to much like Ocean City, where 97% of 639 is certainly better than 97% of 452.
Right?
Yeah. Now, for Summers Point, what does that look like? Summers Point went from 439 up to 579,000 in an overall value, right? So that's a nice significant jump for Summers Point. The number of properties that sold, almost the same numbers: 11 in July, 10 in August.
Yeah.
Number of properties active, 27 in July, 28 in August. So the primary home market has been very consistent this month.
Yeah.
And those are actually pretty good numbers. I know 20-something might not sound like a lot, but in this kind of market where we're in right now, where things are kind of, stagnant, if you will, it's not really just like this one-way trend where it's like market, values are going up or inventory is going up. It's like everything's just kind of like, doing this type of thing. The primary home market was very consistent in those two towns. And Summers Point, again, 98% in July, 97% of value in August. So again, you got more in August because you got 97% of 579,000, but you're not seeing this drop of like 93%.
Right. Yeah, sure. So you're getting consistency, which
numbers are consistent.
To your point, what you start to look for, you start to see some patterns when you start to look at and stack these months together.
Yeah.
When we're sitting in North Cape May, so your average sale price in North Cape May was up 13%, over 507,000 this month for August compared to July. Average number of properties that sold, we had 8 that closed in the month of August. Not too much. We had 6 in July, 8 in August, so not big of a difference. Number of properties that came on the market, same thing. We had 11 in August. We had 8 in July. So I'm going to tell you it was 27%. It's this big percentage number, but it was 3 more properties came on in August than they did in July. So just something to always keep in mind of. However, we not only had a 13% increase, we went from 443,000 to 507,000 in your average sale price. You also went from 95% list price to sale price to 99% list price to sale price. So sellers getting more for their on their purchase price or list price. In North Cape May. Finally, in Cape May Courthouse, Chris, your average sale price was $566,000 in the month of August compared to $365,000. So a very big jump in Cape May Courthouse with regards to your average sale price in the month of August. As far as the number of properties that sold, we had a 50% decrease. We only had 9 transactions in Courthouse in the month of August. The number of properties that came on the market also, that was actually up. In the month of August, it was 26 compared to 14, so that was almost a 46% increase. So a big drop in the number of transactions, and we did have a good little spike as far as the number of properties that came onto the market. And your list price to sale price, there was a big drop there too. So it's kind of interesting where you had this massive gain in your average sale price to $566,000 compared to $365 the month before, but your list price to sale price went from 98% to 90%. So, you go from 566, but you only got, average sale price. So, it's just, again, something to kind of keep an eye on there. The month of August, the month of July, it was at 365,000, but they were getting 98% of that. In August, it was 566,000, but they were only getting 90% of that. So, just kind of depends on what your price points are, how fast the properties go into the market, and how, what the sellers are actually getting for what they're paying and listing their properties for. All right, so that sort of wraps up, Chris. It's July versus August. And, of course, whether you're looking to buy or sell, and it's this week, next month, 6 months from now, a year from now, always feel free to reach out. Give us a call, shoot us a text, or an email. It'll be our pleasure to help you with all of your real estate needs down here at the Jersey Shore. Chris, you always talk about, what's happening in their community as opposed to what's happening down here at the shore. Talk about that a little bit too.
Well, I think our markets are very different. I mean, you talk to people all over the country and, you realize that, boy, other areas have massive amounts of inventory, like they're ever increasing and they're slowing down. And you hear statistics that 71% of the agents in the country haven't done a deal this year.
Yeah.
Because inventory is just growing, but no one's buying. We're not really seeing that here. So it's always the cautionary tale of, if you need to know what's going on here at the Shore, contact a professional here at the Shore, like Joe and I. We can give you the exact information, what you need to help you with either selling or buying here, and making sure that you're putting yourself in the best possible position, meaning in the buying or selling, right? You know, it's not, we're not trying to give you an advantage. The advantage is you're doing it with knowledge.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. You understand what's going on in the area. You're not expecting one thing and getting another, because it's like, well, this is what was going on at home. You know, what I want to point out too, Joe, I think is really interesting is when we're looking at these recently, you know, we've been watching the rates actually start to tick down.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think what we have to understand here is the rates are coming down. So what does that mean? Can you just sit there and wait and watch, like, oh, let's see how low they go? Sure, you can. If you're a buyer in the market and that's your choice, you can do that. I would caution the fact that what can happen is that the values of the homes can start to go up because the rates come down. You start to get more than one buyer involved because we have limited inventory. You're going to get more than one buyer involved on a given property because a lot of other buyers are sitting on the sidelines just like you.
Yeah.
This isn't a a proprietary thing for you to be sitting on the sidelines. There's other buyers sitting on the sidelines too.
Yeah.
You could get in a situation where all of a sudden now you start to pay more money even though your rate might be a little lower.
Yeah.
For you sellers, what does that mean for you? Well, the rates are coming down. You're going to get buyers coming into the marketplace that are looking to try to get a property now, beat the rush, if you will, beat the competitive, competition of the other buyers coming in. So you can really capitalize on a real solid buyer. Someone who's been looking, they're in the market, they're a serious buyer, they're qualified, and they're ready to make a purchase, okay? And that's where you can really capitalize as a seller and really finding that right buyer. So if you want to hold out for a bidding war, okay, that may never happen, right? And at any given moment, we all know they could turn around, interest rates could go boop, 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 right back up. And if you were thinking of selling, now all of a sudden your price is going to go boop, 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 down because rates are shooting up. Okay, so the risk reward is kind of pretty big on both sides.
Sure thing.
But with the rates dropping down, I think right now this is probably the most ideal situation
for both parties.
For both parties.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably the last 2 years, it's a much more fair and balanced or equal and balanced opportunity and timeline for both sellers and buyers in the marketplace.
Absolutely. I like that idea. It's very equal and balanced for both sides of the equation here, both buyers and sellers. All right, so Chris, that's going to wrap up our August 2025 versus July 25.
Which means we're saying goodbye to summer.
Which means we're saying goodbye to summer. Unfortunately, Labor Day is in the rear view mirror. So that'll wrap it up. He's Chris, I'm Joe, and until next time, we'll see you at the beach.